Space Camp is a film from 1986, and it really is one of those 80s teen feel-good movies with a different kind of a theme to it because it takes place at a real space camp where kids go to kind of study what it would be like to be an astronaut. And this film did not make a lot of money when it came out in theaters, and it was a victim of timing and an unfortunate tragedy. This film was set to come out in early 1986. And in January of 1986, the Challenger space shuttle blew up after launch, killing the 7 astronauts on board. And so the release of this particular film was delayed till later in 1986. But unfortunately, especially with the previews and the trailers that had already come out, where the lead character says, "You need to launch us or we're going to blow up." That was her actual line. It did the film in, and it's unfortunate because even though aspects of the film are stretch believability and credibility, it still was a pretty entertaining film. And I remember seeing it at the time. I saw it in theaters when it came out, and I really enjoyed it and wanted to show you guys. And actually, I mean, there's parts of it, not too much, but a little bit that are cringy. But for the most part, it held up in that 80s era of those types of films. What did you think about it?
I really liked this movie. I really liked Andy, and I really liked Catherine as one of the kids' roles. And I thought they were both really good, and I actually liked all of the kids.
Yeah, you know, Kate Capshaw plays Andy, and she's, of course, she was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom prior to this as Willie Scott. She's in here. You mentioned Catherine, played by Leah Thompson, who was in Back to the Future. You also have a very young Joaquin Phoenix under the name Leaf Phoenix in here, playing the little kid, Max. He's very good. Kelly Preston plays Tish. And Larry B. Scott plays Rudy Tyler. And I'd seen him in the Magnum P.I. television series, as well as Iron Eagle and a couple other things. He was in Karate Kid. And Tate Donovan, this was his first film. He was introduced here. I saw him later in Magnum P.I., and I kind of thought after that he sort of disappeared. Although when I looked at his IMDb, I remember seeing him in Friends. He played Joshua, which was a recurring character. But I recently looked at IMDb and I thought, he didn't amount to anything. But in reality, the night that I looked at IMDb, I had watched the Rocket Man, which was the Elton John biography that was just released. He's actually in that. As a character, and he's been working steadily all these years in nice parts. So not a big name, like not a big star, movie star, but a good working actor. And of course we have Tom Skerritt in here from Top Gun. So it was a really good cast, and a good cast of young actors, which is what you were talking about.
I really liked the kids. I think that Catherine and Tish were definitely my favorite.
I can see that.
I thought Tish was actually pretty smart because she knew like the flickering stuff.
Well, she had that photographic memory. I thought she played her. I thought Kelly Preston was great in this, and people don't normally talk about her very much, but I like Tish's character a lot. I agree with you.
And I really liked Catherine's too. I think that Andy was really good, and I thought that she was really smart and she was a big girl character. Like she was one of the lead.
She's a very strong female character is what you're trying to say. I agree. I think Kate Capshaw is a great actress. I think, she was great in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. She's great in this film. I'd only seen her in a couple other things. She kind of sort of semi-retired from acting. I mean, she would take a part when it came out, but it seems like she didn't seek out parts because she married Steven Spielberg, and it seems like she was happy to kind of let the industry go. Maybe she wasn't, really enjoying the life of an actor. I'm not sure, but she was very good in this. And I thought, she grounded it and gave it some believability. If you can get past two things here, which are the pieces that I would say stretch the credibility of the film, I think you can really enjoy this. The first one would be that they would put kids on an actual space shuttle when they were doing a main engine test. I can buy that. I mean, you got to get past that, but I can buy that. That's not a problem. The other one would be there was the robot, right? And the robot is how they wind up in space because he causes a malfunction that forces Mission Control to launch the shuttle Because if they don't launch the shuttle...
Because there's like one engine that's going and the other one isn't.
Right. So in the robot's name is Jinx, and he's friends with Max. And because of that, he knows how much Max wants to go to space. So he sort of engineers this malfunction in order to force Mission Control to launch the shuttle, and they go to space. And when they go to space, this is the part where, you know, we've been leading up to this in the space camp sections, where they're learning in the trainers and they're learning in the simulators, and they're fighting and not getting along and not working as a team. That gets sorted out when they're actually in space and they have to work as a team.
Right.
So, you know, the problems manifest themselves again, where Catherine is kind of taking over everybody's different, you know, job. But then they finally assert themselves. She backs off and realizes, my job is this, and I'll stick to this. And Kevin, who's played by Tate Donovan, he kind of steps up, and instead of being irresponsible and, you know, this kind of class clown, he kind of steps up and takes charge and does what he's supposed to do. You know.
Yes.
How did you buy the film? Did you buy the scenario that gets them into space and everything?
Yes, I think that if you kind of just take it for what it is,
I
and
agree.
if you're imaginative kind of a little bit with this, I think that you will definitely get past those. And honestly, I didn't really think twice about it.
That's good. And when I saw it in theaters, I enjoyed it. I was older than you, and I still enjoyed it. I let that be part of the storytelling device, and I accepted it. Because you have to do that. I mean, you have to accept certain things to buy Star Wars, right? You have to just accept it. So you have to get past certain, you know, your brain saying that wouldn't happen. And you can really enjoy this film. I thought the special effects were great. I mean, the footage of the shuttle, I mean, they used actual footage in certain circumstances. And in other circumstances, it's special effects. But I thought done very well, still hold up. You know, and it's sort of a comment on how much this film sort of wanted to be forgotten because of the Challenger tragedy. It's really hard to find it. Like, streaming wise, you can't stream it. We did find it on YouTube. I don't know how long it'll be there. You'll have to look. And you can find the full movie there. You cannot stream it. You can only purchase it on a disc at this point. And I think it's because it performed financially so poorly, but that wasn't the film's fault. I really don't think so. I thought everybody turned in a nice performance here. Tom Skerritt anchors it from Mission Control along with Terry O'Quinn, who's got a nice part here as well. You definitely feel like they're all behind the kids and trying to make everything happen, not because they're going to get in trouble, but because they believe. And they want the kids to get back, obviously, for their safety and their own well-being. And it plays out very... I don't know, it plays out like a typical 80s, you know, it fits in the 80s films. All those John Hughes type films from the 80s, this fits in there in its own little niche because it's a sci-fi kind of bent on that teen movie that was so big in the 80s.
And there's kids in here, but they're really good actors, and it's smart, and some of the kids, well, most of the kids, and Andy and everybody are smart, but they're also funny.
And it was ahead of its time in that it allowed everybody in that core group, in that particular group that winds up on the space shuttle, everybody's an equal. Without any effort, they're all equal. And that says a lot about the way the script was written and how it was directed and how the actors looked at and took on their roles. They didn't there was no effort to them all being just as strong as each other, which I thought was really cool.
Yes.
All right, well, for you?
See it.
Yeah, definitely a see it. If you haven't ever watched the film, check it out and go into it with the right mindset, and I think you could really enjoy it.